Johnny's always running around trying to find certainty. He needs all the world to confirm that he ain't lonely. Mary counts the walls, knows he tires easily. Hello, video on demand people. Looks like ain't nobody here except you and me. The only people that matter, the video on demand people. The best people, frankly. I think we can all agree. Hey, we don't need to see my blank document here. That's a good little place. We give people a chance to matriculate in, assuming that I'm doing this right. We don't need me. You don't need to hear me singing. I'll put some music on. Put some music non-stop. Oh, hello, Justin Liller. Hello, Zach. Hello. Thank you for joining us. So the people on Blueski know. So those of you who are here now, there's a lot of people. All of a sudden, that's so interesting. It's interesting how long it takes, because like I clicked go live. God damn, y'all need to settle down. Kayla Baker, I recognize that name. What's up, Rare TV? What's up, Evan Slator the Destroyer? What's up, Echoscapes, Dr. Divine? Hello, hi. Let's put some music on. Oh, it's Dig. Welcome. Shu the Watcher, from very familiar names. Dig, one of the early evangelists of the warfare system, as I recall. Pabu, what's up, Matt? Not Twitch today. Correct. Well spotted. So we're going to give people a chance to get the alert. Give people like 5 or 10 minutes to jump in, and then we will start working on something vaguely approaching maybe an outline for an adventure. We're not gonna finish an adventure today, and in fact, will this VOD persist? The future is uncertain. I don't like. What do you mean, like past the heat death of the universe? I vote. I suspect no. What's up, Bad Splur? What's up, Marshall Cox? I see that. John Fede. What's up, Jonathan Pilin? How are things in MCDM land? Amazing. Noah Topper. Yeah, you got there ahead of the. We haven't been keeping up with the Sandbaggers watch through, but we might do more of that this weekend. Yeah, that seems likely. What's up, Edinburgh? One of my goals this coming year, the year we're in now. They keep making New Year's. I don't know why. Nobody asked for it, but they keep making them. Is to go to the Fringe Festival. Or I guess it's the festival, and there is a fringe to it, and I would like to go there. I've been to Scotlandia before, but I was a wee bairn, and I have memories of it. I wasn't that. I was a teenager, but my persistent memory of Scotland is beautiful, gorgeous, and for probably like I did a little bit of ancestry.com nonsense, which was really not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was like a big database of relationships. It is not. It's just a big database. You create the relationships. So it's like, hey, do you think this person whose name is only attested to on a gravestone might be your great great grandfather? I'm like, I don't know. I sort of thought that you were going to tell me that. But you only have to go up. So I was raised being told that my family was Scottish, English, and a little Welsh. But it seems as though, I could be wrong, it seems as though I only got to go back like 4 or 5 generations, like to the 1800s, and I'm a mutt. I'm a European mutt. There is some indication that about 4 or 5 generations past that I have got like Hawaiian in me, which is, but it's not certain because of the way they do their nonsense. So yeah, being told when you're a little kid that you're from these parts of the world, when you get to go there, I realize this is not an experience that a lot of Europeans have, but Americans, it's archetypal, or at least some I should say now that I think about it, a certain demographic of Americans. You feel this connection even if it's not there. There's a great Scottish tour guide that I follow on YouTube, and he had a whole video on what does it mean to be Scottish, right? And there's something about that country, and it's not the only one. It's not the only one like it, where people who are descended from people who came there, who were from, they're descended from people who came from there, they're proud of that and they want to talk about it. And then other people are like, but you're only one fraction and you've never been to this. And he's like, I don't think that matters at the end of the day. So anyway, I went to Scotland. I was a teenager and I really liked it. And my not only was it beautiful, everybody there was super. They were always astonished to meet Americans, which I suspect I would get a somewhat different reaction now. But also, it seemed as though, and this was many years ago, so things may have changed. Although who knows, that it was built. Every interior was like built to 7/8 scale. Like I was not yet fully grown, and I was often having to like. Anyway, hello. Santee says, "Hello, Mr. Colville. I love your work. I love your work, random citizen." Traditional elven greetings, Anthony H. Is there going to be a VOD of this? I'm sure. Yeah, why wouldn't there be? Oh, Jeb Gordon knows exactly what I'm talking about. He also lives in the town that my great grandpa grew up in, so his accent reminds me of your pop. That's awesome. That's sweet. Oh, hey, look, Robin Baggett is a mod. A+. Blue Meanie Records. Never heard of it. Don't even know what part of the world it might be in or from. We did have church at night. We did have it was just a record store. We didn't have any record stores that were also gaming stores. But is there a place you can find the fiction I wrote? That's a good question. Milo S. Yeah, isn't Trench Crusade some Warhammer nonsense, or am I crossing streams? My friends who are into Warhammer are talking about Trench Crusade. That's what I know. So the fiction I wrote for Dusk. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, it's online somewhere. I could repost it somewhere, but then it'll just be online again somewhere else. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to make it so that. Well, what I could do is, isn't it linked? I can go through it. Somebody, hopefully a mod will remind me later, and I'll go through and add links to those documents because I wrote them in Google Docs and I think I just published them on the web. So yeah. Am I going to do a review of Dune 2? No, I don't. First of all, in this day and age, if I were going to do a movie review, I would probably just do it on Letterboxd, right? Which is like a blog, like a website, a blogging site for movie nerds. It's like Goodreads. It's like my friend Brian said it's like Letterboxd is like Goodreads for people with a sense of humor. He's like, you go to Goodreads and it's just a bunch of really humorless, really people who take this stuff way too seriously. You go to Letterboxd and people are having a lot of fun reviewing movies. Good for them. A+. We did. I used to have all my initial outings on social media. My blog, my podcast were all about movies. Before anybody knew me as a D&D nerd, they knew me as a movie nerd. And I love doing that, but I don't really recognize the landscape of film these days for obvious reasons. We're not going to get into it. It's one of my resolutions is to avoid beating these dead horses. So I don't know, like there's one or two movie videos that I still want to make, because Jerry really knocked it out of the park with that Shape of Water video. I just gave him the script. And I don't think I gave him any other instructions. And it was up to him to find clips that would look good playing under me just rambling, but also when necessary, accentuate and be examples of the things I was talking about. And he did a great job. And that made me go, wow, we should do more of these. But then I never got around to it. So I think I started a couple of different scripts. And I like the idea of the series being about what is this film about? Not what happens. That's the plot, right? What is it about? What is the meaning of it? Right? That's the story. And I think that's a great lens. There used to be a really, really, really good blog from Todd Alcott, who once was a screenwriter. I don't know if he's still active in that profession. And it was the blog was called What Does the Protagonist Want? And it was just a lens, not the only lens, maybe not even the best lens, through which to view any kind of narrative structure like film. And so I thought, what is this movie about would be a possibly equally good thingy of stuff. But I would only ever do something like that if I were inspired. And that means I have to come out of the theater thinking things. And you would be surprised at how few movies cause that reaction. And Dune 2 was certainly not one of them. There were things I liked about it and there were other things I didn't like about it. It was kind of like I saw Nosferatu the other night and my friends all really liked it and it didn't really work on me. And that may have been because I was seeing it in IMAX and much like The Hateful Eight, which I saw in the 70mm Roadshow version. I'm like, why is this movie in IMAX? Was it filmed in IMAX? It just seems big and incredibly loud. And I think I would have had a more immersive experience if I were able to just watch the movie in a normal theaters. And I'd be willing to see it again, by the way. But I sort of think that Robert Eggers doesn't really know. That dude is already a master of mood and tone, not so much story structure or pacing. And I felt like if you watch any 5 minutes of that Nosferatu movie, you basically seen the entire thing, because it's just a repeating cycle of doom and hopelessness. And there's never any point in that film where I got any notion that anyone in that movie thought any other outcome was possible than the one we got. They were either resigned to their fate or just hapless and ignorant, and there was no sense of structure or anything like that. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's another movie nerd, and the funny thing is he has seen 2 of Robert Eggers' movies, and I've seen the other 2. He's seen The Witch and The Northman, and I've seen Lighthouse and Nosferatu. And he goes, I what you just said is true of the ones I saw. So I think that guy, anyway, maybe it's just, who knows? Anyway, so yeah, Dune 2 not on the table, not as far as I know. Well, Tracy Harms says, I liked it better in the normal theater than IMAX. Yeah, I think IMAX is a brand, and it's also a film format, but almost no one ever films in that film format because it's ridiculous. And of course, these days with digital cameras, you don't need film. You just get a really fuck off big sensor and call it IMAX, and there you go. It's good. It's a resolution. It's a ratio more than anything else. So did they shoot it in IMAX? Does that guy know how to use that frame, that ratio? I don't know. Anyway. Excuse me. So I think we've had enough time of talking to let people know that this is happening. Well, Joseph, the Dune, like Lord of the Rings, the Dune books are weird. No one ever talks about this, but they're very weird. So, am I muted? No, I'm not. What are you talking about? Yeah, and so you might like it, you might not. I don't know that watching those movies is going to give you any indication. This is sort of like Lord of the Rings, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think watching those movies is going to give you any indication what kind of book you're in for. Right? And if you go to, like, when I say these are weird books, if you're a nerd, that might seem like a strange thing to say, especially if you're a nerd my age, because these were staples. They were almost required reading if you were a nerd. But like, go to the airport and just close your eyes and buy a random book at the airport. That's a normal book, right? Those are the books they sell at airports and like supermarkets are normal books, and they are nothing like Dune or Lord of the Rings. So we are going to. Joshua Heisler says, am I excited that Glenn Cook is writing a new book? Not really. I started reading his most recent Black Company book, which came out a couple of years ago, 30 years after the last one. And I only got a few pages in, and the vibe was super weird and wrong. Yeah. I don't like airports. Can I go to a bookstore to buy a random book instead? No, you would not have, that would be very contrary to the point but try a grocery store, same effect. Excuse me. Do I consider my books normal books? They're certainly more normal than Dune or Lord of the Rings. Yeah, way more so. So we are going to, what's up, W. Moser? We are going to we're going to outline an adventure. Actually, I don't even know that we're going to outline it. Outlining has a structure, and outline is actually useful. We're going to brainstorm the contents of an adventure. Now, this is going to be an adventure. I want to make up a new adventure that I can use to run draw steel for my friends. And so this is going to be a level 1 adventure. And I have no idea how much of what we're going to do today is unique to draw steel. Some of it might be because it would be nice if this adventure had an opportunity for negotiation. It would be nice if there was a montage scene in here. It would be nice if things like renown mattered. But this is not a commercial product. At least it isn't yet. I have no intention right now. This has nothing to do with a product, a future product. So it only has to be fun for me to run for my friends. And if it ends up being fun for me to run for my friends and my friends have a good time, but it doesn't show off everything Draw Steel can do, that's fine. I don't care. I just want to have something cool and fun to run for my friends. And it's going to be a low level adventure. And my attitude is sort of like, and I think this, it's going to be different if MCDM sits down to design archetypal adventures for Draw Steel. That would be a scenario in which we would make sure that the adventures showed off all the cool things it can do. But this is just a homebrew adventure I'm running for my friends. So if, as I go, and I think this is largely good advice really for any game, is it doesn't matter if you're running Draw Steel or not. You have an idea for an adventure, you explore that idea, and if opportunities present themselves to show off the fun little subsystems in whatever RPG we're talking about, then you use those. But otherwise, don't try to force it, right? If it's merely fun and doesn't have all the bells and whistles, still a good adventure, right? But if there is opportunities, if you're like, oh, actually, this is a good place for me to stick a negotiation in, well, then do it, yeah. Let's put some music on. I've got a Robert Palmer song stuck in my head, and that doesn't help anybody. What would be a good try? Oh, and the desktop audio is way too loud. I'll blow out your ear holes. What about the True Vine, a lot radio? Yeah, this is good music to make an adventure to. Let's scrub through here to find a peak of audio and see. That's too loud. There's too many loudnesses. That's too many loudses. Fewer loudses, fewer loudses. Fewer. Wait. Now the music is, put a filter on it. Now we can't. Yeah, that's like negative 28 dB. That's good. There we go. That's about right. And now we'll go back to the beginning. And we're going to, let me hang out with chat for a second here. Make sure everybody's, what's up, King Girk? Oh, really? That's awesome. Davis, you live a few blocks away from one of the best channels. You live a few blocks away from one of the best channels on YouTube. The Lot Radio they upload like 10 hours of jams. They're just DJs that show up with records and USB sticks. And so each DJ, they're just people. They're just people that play 2 hours worth of music. There was a Lot Radio chunk. It was 2 hours of a dude doing a primer for the Alan Parsons Project, which I loved as a huge Alan Parsons Project fan. That was amazing. So if you're ever in the mood for just music to work to, music to put on in the background, which I think is what nowadays is often what people think of as music, is it's wallpaper. That offends me, but the Lot Radio is great for that. What's up, Calorie Mar? Excuse me. What's up, Orlando, Florida? Patrick Skelly says, I'm combing through the new backer packet, which is only levels 1 to 3, but I can already tell that this game is going to transform my table and how we play. That's awesome. What's my opinion on 5.5? Well, this isn't really that kind of stream. I would say come by the Twitch channel for that kind of question. Have I played Morkborg? No. Although I would, it's The Lot, L-O-T, The Lot. Tubal the Barbarian. So anyway, where are we? Can I close this window? Yes. Here we go. And let's, we can close that window. And I've already given this a COD title that I don't really believe in. So don't get too excited. I think we'll come up with a better, oh, and you guys can't see that. Good. You don't deserve to see it. No. No, come on. Don't be weird. Oh, that's why it's way over there. So in fact, I'm going to leave that because like that, look at all that white space that doesn't help the stream. So if that little blue triangle marks the upper, so we'll put it in a header right up here, right? So it's the exped. This is where we make them expeds. The expedition. And put that in the level 1 header. So what do I know about this adventure right now? Very little. So there's a bunch of different ways to start. This is going to be something I run for my friends who have never played Draw Steel. I mean, some of these people have been part of the playtest. People like my friend Brock, people like my friend Matt O'Driscoll have already playtested the game a couple times, but this is going to be a real campaign. And I'd like to be able to run this for multiple people, and maybe even record it and take an edited video and upload it to the YouTubes, as they say, as the kids say. And it's not going to be a hot start. It's going to be classic, but I don't want it to be you meet in a tavern. Even though I'm on the record saying meeting in a tavern is fine. It's fine. Classic. I think meeting in a tavern is great. And actually, now that I think about it, having not thought about it before, I think meeting in a tavern could be awesome for Draw Steel because your character, when you finish character creation in Draw Steel, you have a much more three-dimensional character than you do coming from D20 Fantasy. And there may be some editions of that game where that's less true than others, fair enough. But I'll stake my reputation, whatever that means. I'll stand by that statement that your starting character in Draw Steel is a lot more three-dimensional. And I sort of think the secret to a good tavern start is characters that already have a bit of a backstory, a bit of an internal monologue. They have some internal conflict, right? They're carrying some internal conflict with them. And probably somewhere in that internal conflict is their motivation for being an adventurer in the first place, right? Well, that's already more thought than most players put into their first level character, especially new players, right? Well, Draw Steel tries to tease that out of you. We did a whole stream making and we'll probably do more of these, making new characters, especially considering the rules have changed. And anybody who's read the Draw Steel backer packet rules, or the patrons have the entire game, by the way. The patrons have the whole game. I mean, without the art and the layout. So it's still rough reading just a huge text dump. But anybody who's been through character creation will tell you that, like, wow, I know a lot more about this character, and why are they an adventurer? Which is, by the way, a question that, there's a lot of questions when you make a brand new D20 fantasy character, that a lot of questions you don't have answers yet regarding your character, but you'll figure them out as you play. That's fine. But some of them, I think, like, why am I an adventurer? What happened to me? What happened to me in my past that caused me to go down this crazy road of being a professional monster hunter, or whatever you want to call it, a rat catcher, I think those kind of questions never come up in the normal course of play, and so never get answered. And so our game kind of asked that. So I think that Draw Steel would actually be really good for starting a tavern, because I think what makes a good tavern start is complicated characters that have something to talk about, because you want to leave the players alone for a little while. You want to put some interesting NPCs for them to interact with in the tavern, including somebody for them to act as kind of an antagonist, right? A local, maybe another adventurer, maybe, the dwarven, the evil dwarves that we started Dusk with back before I knew Dusk was going to be a campaign. But you want the players to have the opportunity to talk to each other and get to know each other. And you as a director want to give them opportunities and spur on those discussions. That's what the NPCs are for, right? These NPCs can create moments where the players talk to the NPC, the players start talking to each other, and they learn who their characters are. And if you've got a character with a good backstory, well, then I think that's going to be fun. And I say this because I've done it when we were teenagers. I think it was one of the sessions that I improvised where people wanted to play D&D. I didn't have everything ready, and I'm like, yeah, I'm fulsome in my powers. We'll just wing it. I'll just wing it. And and the success of that session, everybody had a really good time wanting to keep playing, was the fact that I made it about their characters, their personality, their backstory in the inn. I put people in there for them to protect, put people in there for them to be curious about. I put people in the inn for them to be threatened by or to threaten them. And that was all I needed to do. And everything just played out on its own completely organically. And so that's what I mean when I say, that's where I'm coming from when I say, I think that was what makes a good start in a tavern adventure. But I don't think that's it. I don't think this is that. Thank you, Lennox. All the best to you. I gotta get a haircut one of these days, but my progressively thinning hair makes me motivated to keep what I got. But it's also annoying. So I think this is going to be one of those like assignments, right? Where there's going to be a help wanted poster that the players are going to respond to. Right. And in fact, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to say, we're going to start with, and this is not an outline. I don't have to, what I'm writing here does not have to conform to any structure. It's just a brain dump, right? I can give it structure later, right? Maybe in another stream, maybe after this, maybe during this. It seems unlikely, but we'll see. So we're going to start with a help want. I almost wrote a wanted poster, but that's not what I mean. Help wanted poster. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call this. And if I've got time, and I do, because I'm my own boss, I'll actually make this and print it out. Really, it's real simple. You just pick a good classic, like I did for the, I think I did it for the Delian Tomb, right? Or certainly I did it when I ran 4th edition. Where there was like here's what goblin ears, five silver pieces each, because the local baron is paying adventurers to clear out the woods and stuff like that. This is gonna be the same thing. I'm gonna come up with a specialist wanted poster, and it's gonna say a little something, like it's gonna a specialist wanted poster that's going to describe. I cannot, hang on a second, describe, I can't see my keyboard. Describe the So I'm going to write the local baron, right? Always handy to have a local baron. The local baron is hiring that's not how you spell hiring. Hiring specialists, meaning adventurers, to find some missing people, right? So it's going to indicate a high level of threat, and some promise of payout, right? Maybe more than money, because draw steel's not really about money, right? There is wealth in draw steel, but it's not about gold pieces as score the way other RPGs are, where more money is just always good, and you look at it and it's like the score on a pinball game going up, and you just want more of it. And that's not really what draw steel is heroic. And Indiana Jones and Luke Skywalker are not. You can see how old I am. Indiana Jones and Luke Skywalker are not principally motivated by seeing the contents of their purse growing. And even characters in those movies who profess to be primarily motivated by cash turn out not to be, because even Han Solo is a hero. So, like land and title. Land and title, that's an interesting reward. It could be cool, but I don't know how motivating that would be for draw steel characters. But it goes in the brainstorming list. All right, so okay, so let's make that a level 2 header. All right, so now we're going to get into the meat of this adventure. Because the poster gives, I can hand the poster out. I can make it a prop. I can write it in character. I can pick a fun fake medieval looking, a medieval looking, but not actually medieval font to give it the right vibe. Like Ring Bearer is one I like a lot, but there are others. And the players can read it and make their own decisions regarding why they're saying yes to this. And I think that the way you make characters in Draw Steel is going to give them good answers to that question, actually. It's going to be a lot easier, I hope, fingers crossed. We may find out together if I record myself running this, that the answer to the question, why am I going to say yes to this poster, is more obvious for a Draw Steel character than it is for a D20 Fantasy character, because you answer questions when you make a Draw Steel character like, why can't I go back to my old life? Right? Because if you could, you would. Like if I could go back to having a normal life and not risk my life being an adventurer fighting monsters, I would. Stand by. So people have gone there. I think what has happened is, and this is kind of a riff on Dusk, but Dusk was very successful as far as I'm concerned. So why not rip it off and use that structure over again? But I think what has happened is there is a place far away. So I don't know where this is set. I don't know if this is, it's certainly going to be in Vasloria somewhere, classic medieval fantasy land. But I don't know if it's going to be in the part of Andrim that you folks have seen, that's in the Kingdoms and Warfare map, for instance, or if it's somewhere else. I think it might be somewhere else. I think I might want to start somewhere new, because Vasloria is as big as Europe. And when people hear that, they think England for reasons I do not understand. And then they start working out the actual scale of it. And they're like, my God, this place is huge. And I'm like, yeah, it's as big. Like Europe goes from the left all the way over to the right. Basically until you hit Russia, I think, and depending on who you talk to. So it's big. There's a lot of different countries in it, and so I might just pick another one and start somewhere else. But that's not important right now. We need there's let's see. This is just a brainstorming document. There's a baron, and there's a local barony. There is a distant village. Is there anything unique or interesting about this village? I don't think so. I don't think there's any reason for anybody to suspect that there's anything funky about this place. That's what makes it interesting, is how mundane it is. There's a distant village. Normally there is trade, and the Baron sends supplies. There's like heralds that go around and just make sure that everybody knows, that the Baron's law is being promulgated, so to speak. There's trade. The Baron sends supplies, but it's been weeks. I wrote it in capital letters, so it's important. It's been weeks since anyone has come from this town. Should we come up with a name for the town? I don't know. I like really, really mundane and plausible and realistic sounding European town names. I do not like names that sound like I do not like games that sound like a game developer just made it up. I don't like names that sound like somebody just made it up because it's a fantasy world and it's got random apostrophes and nonsense like that. And to me, that's not believable. To me, it immediately seems like what it is. It seems fake and something made up. So for right now, I'm going to use like a placeholder name. I'm going to come and it's just Broad, right? This just sounds like a bog standard town name. It's not exciting. It's not fun. It just sounds real. Sounds like a real name. And I'll come up with another one later. So it's been weeks since they've heard anything from this town. Now, that's not necessarily unusual because it's roughly 13th century, go read a distant mirror. It's that kind of technology and space. And so not hearing from a town for a long time is not that big a deal. It takes a long time to get from one point to another. But I'm going to write it down instead of trying to work it out. The Baron... There's been escalating attempts. I'm just going to write down escalating attempts to contact this town have failed. So this is where we're going to get into it. So no one coming from the town for time, days or weeks, probably not that big a deal. It's a medieval society. Would anybody ever even notice? There's lots of the barony protects lots of local towns, many of which are probably not on any map, right? They don't warrant it, and map making is not trivially easy. So there's all sorts of towns around here, and not hearing from that town for a while is not a big deal. But there is some inciting incident. There's some like a carter. Let's start with a carter, right? Carter goes west. Let's say the distant village is to the west. I have no idea if you folks are having fun or not. I can promise that this is my actual process. I can't promise that it's going to be fun or watchable. Distant villages to the west. Look, we're already doing a little bit of world building. The Carter goes to the village. Broad. We know what it's called now. Carter goes to Broad. Never comes back. So what is a carter? A carter is literally... It's a job, and it's a tradesperson. It's somebody who has a cart, maybe multiple carts, and it's probably a family, and this is how they make a living, and they go from town to town. And whatever you have too much of, they trade or buy from you for the stuff that you need, and then they go to the next town. So their carts are loaded with like grain, pots, metal can be somewhat hard to come by, tools, stuff like that. And they just make a circuit and they go around and buy, and they don't really necessarily buy and sell. They probably carry cash to make up differences between things, but it's mostly like bartering. In fact, I heard an interesting thing, and it sounded plausible to me, and that's good enough. Whether it's true or not, I'm not a historian. I'm a game developer and a world builder, so plausibility is really all that I value. And if that plausibility comes from something's historicity, even better. But if it's historical, but nobody believes it, then at the end of the day, when verisimilitude fails, authenticity is no defense. If your players don't believe it, telling them, but this is how it really was, they don't care. They don't care. They're here to have fun and to be engaged. And I think that's true of audience members and players alike. I heard that that notion of bartering as an economic model has never happened. What you get is it's almost like a patois. It's like two different cultures meet for the first time, and there's a brief period where they do bartering. I will give you a goat for these two chickens. And then after that brief period, which is probably measured in a couple of years, they come up with some medium of exchange, right? And they don't need that bartering thing anymore. And I was like, oh, that's really, that sounds... So anyway, I have no idea what that has to do with anything. The carter has gone missing. So the carter is the first, and that itself, so step one is we haven't heard anything from this town for a while. That's not a big deal. We often don't hear from towns. The Carter went to go. My phone just vibrated in my pants. My pants are vibrating. Oh, here we go. Oh, somebody's trying to. John B, I don't stream any games. I stream Star Citizen is what I stream. I stream Star Citizen and NetHack on Twitch. I apologize for not engaging directly that much with chat right now, but you can sort of see why, right? There's a lot of people who are asking questions that don't have anything to do with what we're doing right now, which is fair. That's what Twitch is for, though. So the Carter goes missing. Nobody notices. I mean, I'm sorry. No one hears from the town for a while. No big deal. The Carter goes missing, and that's a much bigger deal, but it still takes a while, right? At first, no one made any no one connected the missing Carter with the missing town. Let's just call it the missing town. The town's not missing. It hasn't gone anywhere. I mean, maybe it has. I don't know. We're gonna find out together. I think this is going to get really. I think this is going to get really interesting, folks. If it's not interesting yet, stay tuned. So it takes a while. Then the Baron. Somebody brings this to the attention of the Baron or the Baron's guards or the Watch, or maybe maybe there's some local organization like the Coursers. Yeah, that sounds good. So because the Baron is a centralized government, right? Principally concerned with what's happening within what he can see, and then the nearby local big towns, far distant towns, much less of a problem for him or them or her, or she. And so somebody else is probably going to notice this first and start looking into it. So probably the Coursers, and the Coursers they're my version of the Harpers is what they are. There's only ever 2 of them at a time, but it's not. There's could be hundreds of them, but they travel in pairs, and that's one of the reasons they're called the Coursers, is because a course is a pair of strings on a certain kind of lute, like a 12-string guitar. 2 of those strings, one pair of 2 strings, is called a course, and so their symbol is like a harp with 2 strings on it, and that's what a courser pin looks like. And they're using D20 parlance, which is where they come from, because my world started off as a D20 world first. They're like neutral good. They're not principally concerned with law, governance, civilization. They're more closely aligned with nature, but they're not an explicitly like pro-nature organization. There are a lot of like rangers and druids in there, but there are wizards, and there are sensors and conduits in the coursers. They come to all shapes and sizes, and so the coursers noticed first, and so there's probably only. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. If 2 coursers go to investigate and they go missing, does anybody notice? Yeah, probably somebody knew that they were. Yeah. So the coursers notice first, go investigate, never come back. Someone who knew them, probably, let's say, the captain of the guard. Captain of the guard. I can look at OBS. I can watch myself type in OBS. The captain of the guard, someone who knew them, the captain of the guard, brings this matter to the Baron's attention. And now there's an issue. So now the Baron, so the Carter's gone missing. The coursers have gone missing. The Baron decides to act. And I just want to make sure that I'm not looking for suggestions. This isn't Collaborous, where I just kind of sit here and vibe, and you folks come up with ideas and I filter them. This could turn into a product. I don't intend it to, but it might. And if that happens, I want to make sure that it's my nonsense and not crowdsourced nonsense. Stand by. The goal of the reason I'm live streaming this is principally because I thought it would be fun, but also because I think there are some people in the audience, maybe not you, but there are some people in the audience who like, especially people who are new to the game, people who are new to the hobby, I should say, who they don't know how do you start from zero? How do you start? And I've done streams like this before, but it's always nice to refresh to prime the pump, so to speak. to wipe the chalkboard clean and start again for the new students to see how things are done. So this is not me looking for inspiration. So I appreciate people who are trying to brainstorm with me, but it's not going to end up in the document. So the captain of the guard who knows the coursers, and he might be the only person, I'm assuming it's a guy. I shouldn't do that. In fact, it's probably a girl. She probably is maybe one of the only people in town who knows that those two people that hung out and that we would see every once in a while in the local inn or bar or tavern were coursers, because they don't make a big show of it. They're not exactly a secret society, but they're not like super well known. Like I would say, like most noblemen, most local nobles are aware of the coursers, right? But I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. We'll have to wait for some supplement where you get to meet the coursers and get to learn more about them to figure out like how well known are they? Is their existence public knowledge? I always sort of imagine them as being quasi secret, but that's hard to pull off, frankly, because there's a big problem in world building in RPGs where the players often have easy and ready access to knowledge, to information that the people in the world do not. And it makes it very difficult for the players to imagine the world complexly, right? Because they sort of just assume that everybody in the world knows what they know, right? But it's like, no, that's rarely true, actually, I think. It even doesn't matter what the game is. Maybe you're playing Paranoia, but even if you're playing like, Call of Cthulhu, the average people don't know shit. And the players, uniquely in a Call of Cthulhu game, the players know they're in a Call of Cthulhu game. Nobody else does, right? So there's always a problem with that. So I don't know if it makes sense for the coursers to be quasi-secret. Maybe they're well-known. But this adventure is not about the coursers. We don't have to worry about that. Although this adventure could be a good opportunity to join the coursers. Because if you're going to rescue, by the way, I don't know if these people can be rescued. Maybe they're all dead. Maybe something in between. Maybe something worse. I don't know. But this might be a good opportunity to kind of like, meet a new faction in Drawsteel, in Vasloria, impress them by rescuing some of their members, and have the opportunity to join them. So the captain of the guard brings the matter to the Baron's attention. Now there's an issue. So what's the Baron going to do? The Baron is going to send a cadre of watchmen, soldiers, men at arms. And I'm trying to think, like, when is it? Yeah, there's an issue. It is now clear that that Broad is the problem. That I'm going to put this in bold. Getting to Broad and coming back safely, like a moonshot, and coming back safely, is for some reason no longer possible. Right. So at this point, my watch just told me I'm stressing out. Time to take off my watch. So at this paragraph in the adventure, the people, anybody who's paying attention, certainly the Baron, knows, it's this town. It's this distant western town that anybody who goes there doesn't come back, and we haven't heard from, right? So it's almost like process elimination. So the Baron sends some men at arms to go check it out. And I should say, let's add some character here. They certainly, they certainly expected this to solve the problem. Probably sent a knight with them. Right? One knight and, let's say, 6 men at arms. Right? They never come back. Now it's time to call in the specialists. I don't know why I'm just typing what I say. Now it's time to call in the specialists. And for some reason, I'm normally opposed to this language because it's Latin, it's Latin or Latin derived. It sounds like 20th century lingo. But I sort of feel like in this instance, I've never really liked adventurers as a diegetic term. It's perfectly reasonable for the players to refer to their characters that way, but I don't think that's how people in the world would refer to them. That's why I think campaigners is more reasonable for a term people in the world would use, and the slang term is rat catchers in my setting, or at least in my novels. It's not something I impose on Drawsteel. I think this wanted poster might actually say specialists wanted. because we've tried everything else, right? The coursers couldn't figure this out, and they are adventurers to a certain extent, right? They have class levels, as we would say. And I sent a knight, men at arms, and they, if there was a problem, one of them would have come back. Surely one of them would have made it back, right? No, none of them made it back. None of them made it. And they knew when they went it was dangerous. And they were given explicit instruction that it was more. I'm going to write this down. This is weird because they were explicitly told to come back once they knew if they had any, as soon. In other words, this is an investigative mission. This isn't go solve that problem. This is just go see. I don't want to lose knights. Knights are expensive, and men at arms take a lot of training. I don't want to just piss them away. I want them to come back. So go see what's going on. And as soon as you discover anything weird, come back and report back, and we'll figure out what to do about it together. Right, and you'll have backup, and that'll be the real expedition, right? This is step one, is the flyover, right? The flyover to just do a recce and see what's going on down on the ground. And once we know exactly where that crashed plane is, then we can send people in to go rescue them. But there's no point in having the rescue team and the go find them team be the same, because that would take too long and be too dangerous. So the fact that they didn't come back is the thing that kind of freaks the Baron out a little bit, because it was sort of the one thing they were supposed to do, right? And not only did they not come back, not even one of them came back. So it's time to call in heroes. The heroes. Yes. Send the militia. All right. So now, the heroes, it's draw steel. They want to go save the people. They have this cool, dope ass new character that have all these cool ass abilities. They want to use them, and this is an opportunity to do so. And many of these abilities, skills, and stuff like that have nothing to do with fighting monsters. They can do things like track and investigate and whatnot. You're welcome, Unicorn Addicted, and may the future be better for you than the past. So now it's time for the heroes to get involved, and that part there's going to be a poster. I'm going to hand it out, and it's going to be up to the players to decide why they respond to it. And I actually like the idea. Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to write this down, even though it may end up not being part of the adventure. More heroes than just the PCs respond. Right, so there's an NPC who applies, who applies with the heroes, but once they see the job, the nature, this NPC backs out. Why? Why am I imagining that? Let's imagine there's 6 players in my game, so that means 6 PCs are going to see this poster different times of the day. They don't all know each other. They're going to see this poster. They're going to respond to it. They're going to show up. They're not the first, but there's another NPC. There's an NPC who's a first level adventurer who see at the same time, and so shows up with them, and is probably going to be a meeting with the Baron. Barons are very hands-on. They're not like dukes that are super far removed from the daily lives of the people. So there's going to be an audience with the Baron, which happens several times a day, no big deal. And it's going to be the 6 PCs and this other person, this other NPC. And this other NPC is going to hear about this and go, no, this is, first of all, I don't want to split the reward 7 ways. Not for me, right? So whoever this person is, they're a little bit more materialistic. And they don't want to, why am I doing this? I'll explain. Split the reward 7 ways. But also, I think they're also they don't like being given an assignment when they don't know what it is. Like, ask me to kill a dragon, no problem. But we don't know what's wrong, and lots of people have failed at this, including the coursers. No, I'm out. Good luck to you. Cautious. Well, I can't always explain why I think this is a good idea. These are instincts that I built up as a professional storyteller. That's a lot more self-aggrandizing than I mean it to sound. But as a dungeon master and as a amateur and then professional writer, it's always nice to have these other characters that can represent other points of view. And having there be somebody who's just an NPC that's in the same room at the same time as the heroes during this kind of debriefing and who says, no, that's not for me. It helps put a spotlight on the heroes and show how different they are than the average adventurer, right? The 6-player characters, now in other words, there's an opportunity for contrast, right? We're not like that person. That person said no thanks because they're materialistic. We're not. We don't mind splitting the reward 6 ways. And they don't like being, well, I'm going to go risk my life just because it's the right thing to do. Well, the heroes, yeah, they will. And so having this other character there gives me an opportunity to show the heroes how they are heroes, and they don't have to do anything. They're just there to sign up for an adventure, and just having this other person there is like, no, I was into it when I was going to get some gold and maybe right and title to land or who knows what. And now I'm not. But it also means I've got this person in my pocket, and I can do the Achilles in his tent thing. It's one of my all-time favorite tropes. Look it up. I can do the Achilles in his tent thing, and I can have this is someone who can show up later, when the heroes, if things go south. Oh, actually, this person can show up later under 2 circumstances. Show up later if ... things go south for the heroes and they need some aid. This is. By no means would I try to make this happen. That's why I like the idea that this person, they may never show up again, which is fine. They may show up in a different adventure, which would be even cooler. They may show up in this adventure, but I have a valve I can use in case the players get in over their heads. And I don't know if that's going to happen in this adventure. It's not done yet. We're not there yet. But I always like giving the players, as part of my style, is letting the players get in over their head. Like, here's this watchtower full of hobgoblins, and they're not going to do any intelligence gathering. They're just going to charge the damn thing, and they get way in over their heads. And they push it, they try to, anyway. And it's like, well, you guys wanted to do this. That's not my idea. But this isn't that kind of adventure per se. So I don't know that there's much opportunity for them to get in over their heads, so to speak. But if that happens, if things go south for the heroes, there's somebody who can come help them out. But if things are going super well for the heroes, they may encounter this NPC, and I'm going to write down, they may encounter this NPC and have to pull his fat out of the fryer, so to speak. That's nice about fryer, right? So now that once I've introduced this person, if I come up with who they are and they're cool and they're fun, even if they're somewhat cowardly and self-motivated and enlightened self-interest, if they're fun and cool, then the players will enjoy meeting them again. And the notion of somebody saying, nah, I'm out, I don't want to split the reward 7 ways, I don't like signing up for something but I don't know what I'm getting in for, and then the players find this person later in the middle of the quicksand, metaphorical or literal quicksand, the players get to laugh at this person, be like, oh, because you tried to get ahead of us and split the reward no ways and get it all yourself, and now you're paying the price, right? And that is a nice little fun little tiny morality tale in there, which I like. So there's going to be another NPC and initially I thought that while the heroes were going in to talk to the Baron, there would be other people coming out being like, no, I'm fuck that, are you kidding? The Baron's crazy if she thinks she's going to be able to get anybody to sign up for this fucking mission, right? So that I thought was initially what would happen. I was thinking about this in the car on the way here, that while the heroes are going in to talk to the Baron about what is this mission, and keep in mind the heroes can do their own intelligence gathering, people in the tavern in the town. In fact, I'll write this down. I'm not worried about the structure of this document, by the way. The heroes have the chance before the audience with the Baron to do some information gathering, do some intelligence gathering on their own. And I'm going to put it in brackets, meaning this is an editorial note. Come back to this once we know what the actual problem is, which I still don't know, by the way. And maybe plant a seed here. It's hard for me to type while people are watching. Right? Meaning, once I know what the actual mystery is, there might be people in town that are familiar with it or know something about it and are keeping their mouths shut for various reasons, and the heroes can find this out. So I'm going to try to make sure that the players have the opportunity. They may not take it, but the players have the opportunity to, in the time between seeing the poster and the audience with the Baron, just talk to some locals, go to a tavern, do some digging, maybe find something out. Yeah. Okay. So initially I thought, while the heroes are going in to talk to the Baron, there'd be people coming out being like, fuck that, I'm not going on that crazy mission. We don't even know where we're going. But I think this hero, this NPC hero, gets me everything I wanted from that, stranger ships passing in the night. It's more direct. They're in the audience with the, that means I have to play both the Baron and her lieutenants and this NPC and maybe have a conversation between two of them. But that doesn't, I like doing stuff like that. I like playing multiple characters in the same scene. It's fun. It's really good in a VTT where I can change identities at a stroke of a key and just have that's super fun. I love doing that, but this probably will not be done initially over the VTT. It'll probably initially be done in person. Okay, so the mission. So the Baron says, look, there's a town. Matt's going to come up with another name because Broad is a name I've used before and I want to come up with a new name. But for now, Broad, and we haven't heard anything from a while. That's not unusual. And then the Carter went missing. And it's dangerous country now. King Omen's been dead for years. This might not be in King Omen land. Things may have been dangerous. If this is Grade or Corwell or Roll, things could have been dangerous for 1,300 years or maybe 1,000 years is closer because the Kalian Empire fell. And so it's just wilderness. The roads aren't safe. So the Carter disappearing is not unheard of. They're just people. They're not heroes. They're just literally carts and horses and people. And maybe they've got one person in their group who's a warrior, a fighter, who has some experience with weapons and can defend them. But otherwise, no, they're just tradespeople. So that's not that big a deal. But then it came to pass that like the last town they visited was the one before Broad. And the one after Broad is fine, and we have constant and ready access to them. And they're like, nope, Carter has never come by here. And we're like, well, there's on this Carter's path, there's only one town that is between these two places, and that's Broad. So the Baron, I only heard about this way after the fact. Apparently, the coursers heard about this. I didn't even know there were coursers in town. The coursers heard about this, and according to my lieutenant here, went off to go figure out what's happening. And my lieutenant didn't bring the problem to me because they thought that the coursers will handle this. The coursers can be 7th level, which in Draw Steel is 70% of the way to the end. Who knows? You don't know. In other words, is the point of what level a courser is. And then the coursers don't come back. And at that point, my lieutenant came to me and said, there's something going on in Broad. And it's getting worse. But as more attention is drawn to it, more people are investigating. People are taking matters into their own hands. There may be people. This is a good idea. There are people in the seat of the barony with relatives, and they went to we're ratcheting up the tension. We're ratcheting up the tension. There are innocent people involved now. Even the Carter, who you might think of as being innocent, but their job is to go out into the wilderness and on these roads that are not well repaired, and they knew the job was dangerous when they took it. But these are just innocent people who live here in the town or the small city that is the barony, who just have relatives in Broad and are like, what happened to, auntie, uncle, grandpapa, and just go see, and they're gone forever. And they went to investigate. Never came back. So these are innocents, right? And that is Pathos. That ratchets the tension up. What has happened to all these people? Are any of them still alive? Are all of them still alive and being held in some kind of? We don't know. Even Matt does not know. By the way, let's take a break for a second and see. Take it easy, Caleb Baker. How you folks doing? What do you think so far? Matthew Villanueva says, would you come up with a script for that conversation between the Baron and the NPC hero? Probably not. What I would do is I would improv most of it, and I might have 1 or 2 lines of dialogue I've got in my pocket that help me understand who these characters are. So I have like 1 or 2 lines of dialogue from the Baron's point of view, not a script with, you know, all of the dialogue. Nope, just 1 or 2 signature lines that help me understand who this person is. And then same thing for the NPC. 1 or 2 lines of dialogue to help me understand who this person is, and then I wing it. Baroness is sexist, and this is not a sexist society. I should not have to explain to people why, just because it's a girl doing the job, that does not mean that they need their own word for it. Other people can explain that to you. In fact, in my first novel, the main character goes north, which is to say, like, into the wilderness. And there's the Baron, and it turns out to be a girl. And he's like, oh, why don't they use the gender term? And that's because in that part of the world, they don't have that kind of sexism. Excuse me. If I'm just getting started, do I need this level of detail? I don't know. I have no idea. What level of detail? What specifically? What level of detail are you talking about? To me, this is just bog standard adventure design. Again, those of you who want to debate the various merits of giving women specialized terms for their jobs, even though they're doing the same thing a boy does, this is not the place to do that. Other people can enlighten you on that if you desire enlightenment. Anyway, so it seems like things are going well. All right, so we're going to continue the stream. All right, so this is where shit starts to get cool and fun, and all this stuff is the hard, gross work we have to do in order to have fun, right? What do we want? We want to have cool shit happen in some fights, and people falling in love, and a bit with the dog. Actually, bit with a dog. That is a totally legitimate thing that could happen. That is a totally legitimate thing that could happen. Yarp. All right, so the mission. So the heroes set out. Never hurts to write down the obvious. Never hurts to write down the obvious. The heroes set out, and they journey for some time, and the roads aren't safe. I don't know that I would bother with like a random encounter, so to speak. This isn't that kind of adventure. This isn't that. I mean, I have no problem with random encounters, but I like using them to a purpose, and I don't know what the purpose here would be. My gut tells me that the first unusual thing that happens to the players should be wholly unrelated to the goings on, right? Because that's classic storytelling, right? As the players are suspicious, they're leaving the confines of the safe part of the world, right? And they're going out into the borderlands, into the liminal, right? It's the Shire. They're leaving the Edenic. Here in the barony, we don't have to, there is law. Here in the barony, there is order. Here, I should say, here in the seat of the barony. Here, within sight of the Baron's castle or keep, there is law. Life goes on normally according to the cycles of the seasons and day and night and whatnot, and you don't have to worry about high weirdness. But the players are leaving that safety and they're going out into that liminal world, into that borderlands where that is no longer true, right? And so they are on a mission, so they are suspicious. So the first thing that happens can't be related to any of this nonsense, because as soon as they see anything out of the ordinary, they're going to be on high alert. And so we want to kind of we want to diffuse that and give them something they don't expect, because otherwise, if the only things that ever happened in an adventure were exactly what everyone expected to happen, we wouldn't need to do an adventure, right? So we need a surprise. Something happens, they meet somebody, they see something. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to worry about it right now. They have some early, I'm not soliciting advice. If you want to run an adventure like this, knock yourselves out. You can put whatever weird nonsense you want in your adventure. They have some early encounter, wholly unrelated to the high weirdness. I wasn't thinking this initially. This is literally just my storyteller instincts. Instinct is actually a bad and somewhat insulting word for it. Be careful when you tell people they have good instincts, because instincts are, you're born with them, right? But these are things that, these are senses that I have developed by hand over decades of doing this. These are hard fought lessons. I do not have a hairbrush in here, and that is gross. I gotta brush my hair. My hair is falling apart. I might take a break for a second, refresh my liquid. Get a hairbrush. I'm thinking of that moment in The Lord of the Rings, and specifically the best adaptation ever of The Lord of the Rings. I don't think it will ever be topped, and that is the BBC radio production of Lord of the Rings 1981 with Bill Nighy as Sam Gamgee and Ian Holm as Frodo. In other words, Bilbo playing Frodo. Brilliant. And there's a point where they are aware of the fact that the Black Riders are out. They don't know what the Black Riders are yet, but they know that and they see some dark figure looming ahead of them in the night. And it turns out to just be like Mary who rode ahead. And he's like, what? They're all like, oh God, it's just Mary. Okay, it's fine. And he's like, why are you guys all freaking out about? What's all the fuss and the fighting? So that's the thing I'm thinking of in my head, is that moment of tension. Like, what is this thing? And then, it's nothing. It's fine. It's probably nothing. It's fine. It's a character moment. Probably they meet somebody on the road to the barony. And it could literally just be a little interlude, not advance the plot, explicate character. Yeah, 100% explicate character. Give the heroes a chance to talk to this person, sort of interrogate them, but this person doesn't necessarily know what's going on. I don't know who this person is. This will be for when and if I move from just a brainstorming document to an actual outline. I'll figure that out then. Okay. Then something happens, and I think 3 things are going to happen. Because that's the rule of 3s, right? There's these people went missing. That was weird. And then these people, and then the coursers went after them. They went missing. That's weird. I sent a knight and my men at arms. They went missing 1, 2, 3. Now, once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, 3 times is enemy action, right? So that's the rule of 3s, right? So it's also good for storytelling, beginning, middle, and an end. So 3 things. They encounter 3 things on the way to this place. 3 weird, mysterious things. And I don't know what they all are, but I think the first one is, stand by. I think they should see I don't know if this is the first high weirdness encounter, the first indication that something weird is happening, but the heroes, I'm not going to try to self-edit. If the stuff I come up with doesn't exactly work, that's a problem for future, Matt. Just get your cool ideas down on the page first, and then worry about structure later. The Carter and their family, the family of the Carter, the Carter and their family are found. The heroes see something in a field of grass, and for some reason I have a very kind of field of grass off the road. It's autumn. So the grass is kind of dying. It's golden, brittle, and it's got that I shut my water. I'm overwatering my lawn right now, and so I've stopped that. And now when I go outside, I see little patches of that like golden color of dying grass. Is brittle, golden, dying grass. When the heroes investigate, they discover, what do they discover? They find these shadows on the ground, and only the shadows. The shadows of bodies, the shadows of the horses, the shadows of the cart, and just the shadows. Nothing else. No debris, no sign of conflict. Are there horses, cart? No, maybe. I think it doesn't make sense that these shadows just exist randomly. So there's it's very Twilight Zone-y, which is kind of the vibe I'm going for. There's cart wheel tracks, real cartwheel tracks. This is where the carter and family made their last stand. So now, here is something I thought of, but I don't know. I feel like this would be going too far too fast. This would be going from 0 to 11 too quickly, but I thought about this. Are the shadows moving? Is it one of those things where the players spend some amount of time investigating and freaking out a little bit, and then somebody notices, hang on a minute, these are shadows of living beings that are still alive somewhere, right? But they've been disconnected from, you know what this means? Oh my God, I just realized this. I just realized that this means the shadow elves might be the bad guy. That saves me a lot of work because we already have shadow elves in Draw Steel. I was thinking there might be something more, something else, something new. I was thinking that whatever the solution to this was, whatever, I shouldn't say solution, whatever the mystery is, whoever the real antagonist is that's causing these disappearances, that it would be something new that we haven't seen yet in Draw Steel. Because inventing new things is part of what motivates me to create, right? However, if these are shadows, and the shadows are actual shadows of people that are still alive, or they are somewhere, and all we can see is their shadows, and they're like huddled together. They're trying to stay still, which is they're obviously like the heroes can walk around this scene, you know, kind of like that one shot. Brilliant. It's a reference to I think it's actual footage from the original Howard Hawks version of The Thing that he ghost directed, where the scientists see the shadow in the ice and they all pace to see how big the shadow is. They all stand around the edge of it. They find the edges of the shadow in the ice, and it's a giant disc, like a flying saucer, a couple 100 meters across, right? So the heroes are going to do this thing where they're going to walk around this shadow. Maybe it would be cool if I could come up with some prop for this, for them to put their actual miniatures out on the table. I don't know. But they're, yeah. And they can see that these are people, animals, a cart, but they're talking and investigating, and it takes them a while before they realize, my God, these things are moving, because these people are huddling together on purpose because they're afraid of something. And I don't know why they are afraid of, I don't know why I think they're still alive, except, isn't it more interesting if the shadows move? Yeah, it is. It's more interesting if the shadows move. Well, why would the shadows still be moving? Because their people must still be alive. Right? And that gives the players hope that they can be rescued. And that sounds like a structure of an adventure, doesn't it? So, are the shadows moving? I think so. But it might be that that's too much too fast. So maybe this isn't the first thing that happens. Doesn't matter. There's no law that says the first idea I had has to be the first one that happens. As the heroes, God, sit around and debate what might have happened. And I cannot wait to try this with Draw Steel Heroes, because there could be a Void Mage in the party. There could be a graduate of the College of Black Ash in the party. And would they have unique insight or the ability to see things or follow where these people went? I don't know. But if the players have a cool enough idea, maybe, yeah. Maybe one of the players could end up, you know, we'll see. The shadows move. These people are still alive. Somewhere. These people are still alive somewhere. Okay, so there's nothing they can do. There's nothing heroes can do. Signs of battle? Yeah, maybe. Signs of battle? Maybe the Carter surrendered? Isn't there a U in there somewhere? No, maybe not. That's creepy. It's creepy and spooky. But an adventure cannot be all creepy and spooky. Right? It's got to be, we need to, it's a game of, I think Draw Steel is like a 3D RPG, right? In the sense that your character is three-dimensional. The world that we imagine is three-dimensional. When you read about the setting of Draw Steel, I hope it's obvious that we're imagining these people complexly. When you read the gods and saints section, you'll learn a lot about these cultures and the reality of them. But at the end of the day, it's a fighting monsters game, folks. So we need some monsters to fight. But that's a problem for future, Matt. Right now, let's see if we can ride this out and ratchet up the tension. Because ultimately, yeah, okay, look, so let's Shadows in the Grass. I think the next encounter, and again, this might not be the right order, is going to be right, let's scroll up a little bit. Oh, this is Moderat, but this is in the middle of Moderat. Bonobo.
Get ready for a real sonic treat.
How long have I been streaming? An hour?
It's
a good amount of time.
Pair of headphones for this one. This is mode selector plus moderate.
Pardon me. Somebody in chat is saying like, are the shadows moving because it's like a recording of something that happened? That's cool. That is super cool. And maybe if this were a Twilight Zone episode, then that's what I would go with. But this is a RPG adventure where it's interactive. And I think that very strongly implying that these people are still alive, it has to be the way to go, right? Because that lights a fire into the hero's ass. We might be able to save these people. If the shadows are moving because it's just a recording on a loop, like the Stone tapes, which is fucking brilliant. We watched the Stone tapes on Halloween on Twitch. Where were you folks? It was a lot of fun. Very spooky TV movie. So yeah, but the next thing is the missing knight. All right. So near there's a vocabulary moment for everybody. Copse of trees. The heroes see what appear to be humanoid figures. They investigate. There are dungeon masters and directors who are opposed to plotting like this. I do not know why we should be. If they never do stuff like this and they're having fun, more power to them. But this always works at my table, right? I know, and this took me a while to figure out, but certainly by the time I was in my 20s, I knew it. I knew which plot hooks I could rely on the players going and following the scent, right, and following the breadcrumbs, and which ones they wouldn't pick up. And like you see what appear to be humanoid figures near this little knot of trees. The heroes are going to investigate. Yeah, 100%. You don't have to worry about that. They find the men-at-arms. The men-at-arms are now... The men-at-arms are... So they're recognizably humans, men-at-arms, but something has happened to them, and now there's no flesh, there's no bones, it's like somebody made topiary sculptures. It's like somebody made topiary sculptures out of them, and it's just vines and bark and thorns, and that's it. There's no metal, there's no flesh. You can see where this is a helmet and stuff like that. Something happened to these guys, right? But the knight is missing. right? They were obviously in battle. So, very Armageddon, very Annihilation. I've seen one of those movies. The Armageddon, isn't that the go blow up an asteroid one? I don't know what this has to do with that. Oh, that sounds awesome, Tyler Lee. That sounds amazing. Nom de plume. Their arms and armor turned to thorns as well? Yeah. The whole thing. The whole thing. You can see their arms and armor on their bodies, but everything is made of bark and leaves and thorns and vines. Right? What the fuck did that? I don't know. I don't know what did that. I don't know what did that. But I think, let's take a look. I can see this. You folks won't be able to see this because I'm not going to. Actually, I'll share my screen once I've found it. Yes, these are the men in. This is the expedition that the Baron sent. When he's like, okay, well, we've lost contact with Brode. The Carter's missing. The Coursers apparently went to check it out, and apparently that's what I've been told. And we never heard back from them. Send the militia. And this is what happened to the militia. And there was a knight with them, and the knight they don't find. I don't know why. I don't know why. I can't explain exactly how I know that if there's men-at-arms, if there's a bunch of generic men-at-arms, and then the special character, the knight in shining armor, that when they come across what happened, this isn't the end of this person's story. It's the end of their story. This person is yet to be found. And in fact, probably this person is wherever the Carter is. Right? So let's check out. There is a dragon. There are many dragons in Draw the Steel. But there's one I'm thinking of that might be useful to us. The Thorn dragons. Thorn dragons take root in the destitution of nature and are cultivated by the suffering of those who struggle against the green's cruelty. I don't know exactly what that means, but it's evocative. Though a region's people may have long overcome past famine, the desperation of those who came before is, I like that there was some like the thorn dragons are born during periods of natural calamity like famine and stuff like that, crops failing and whatnot. So let's see what a thorn dragon can do. A level 2 solo. All right, 40 encounter value 40. I don't know how to make an encounter and draw steel. I know that there are rules for it, and people like them. So I'm not going to do it right now. This is not encounter building. I mean, I do know how to make an encounter and draw steel. It's a relatively straightforward process. I just have not done it officially for a normal everyday adventure I'm running. So that's kind of, I'm not going to get into, is EV40 appropriate for this party yet? I'll worry about that later. What does this thing do? Yeah. Thorn Dragon's Domain, that makes sense. Briar Bindings, that's an attack. Thorned Armor. Briar Bindings. It's a 4 burst, all enemies within the area, and they take damage and they're restrained until they save. Keep an eye on that. Malign Thicket. This is just a thing. It's a villain action. So is Briar Bindings. These are Thorned Armor. Okay, that's cool. Malign Thicket. The dragon's domain becomes imbued with deadly poison. Okay, yep. The creature who takes damage from the dragon's domain or from striking the dragon takes an additional. Okay, yeah, that's cool. More damage. Yeah. Thorn Dragon Malice. Cage of Thorns. I think this might be where the ability I want is going to live. A dragon sealed enemy. Oh, what the fuck is a dragon sealed enemy? That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. What is a dragon sealed? Find dragons. Oh, virulent breath. So this is the Thorn Dragon's breath weapon. Oh, so I can share this with you folks now. Stand by. Studio mode. Go into what do I want? I want word. Isn't there? Yeah, there is a word thing here. Heroes. No, not heroes. Manuscript. That's sexist. Why can't it be manuscript? Let's make that go away so you guys can see this. Yeah, that's going to be kind of tiny. Maybe we could make it Begar. Nerd. Well, first of all, so the people can see. Why don't you get your ass to Mars? Why don't you get your ass to Mars? And then Yay. Why don't you get bigger? No. Sorry, you guys can't see what I'm doing because I'm in. There we go. I just want you guys to be able to have a chance at reading some of this stuff. So here's the Thorn Dragon. Right? It's a solo monster, so it's 2 columns of nonsense. Malice is the director's heroic resource, right? And you build Malice over the course of a battle. You get to spend it on these cool abilities, right? And it's a solo monster, so it's got villain action. So it's basically you're running an entire party of bad guys in one person, and it has virulent breath, right? Which is it's a 10 by 1 line that starts next to the dragon, and everybody has to make a might test. 12 poison damage if this is what's called potency, which is actually, I'm incredibly proud of this, even though it wasn't, this is James. I think James should be proud of this, is the amount of elegant information is built into this. So it's your presence, P for presence. If your presence is less than 4, so the right half of this little equation is the power of the dragon. The left half of this little equation, it's not an equation, it's an expression. The right half of this expression is the power of the dragon. The left half is your presence. So this is your presence versus the power of the dragon. If the dragon rolls really well, actually you make this. Oh, this is a resistance roll. You make the roll, right? So if you roll really well, then it's unlikely you're going to be affected by this. If you roll really badly, then it is likely. So this is kind of a reverse. If you're not familiar with Draw Steel, I've thrown you a bit into the deep end, but it makes sense in context. So yeah, the worse you roll on your saving throw, effectively, just think of it as a saving throw. The worse you roll, the more damage you take, and the more likely it is that you are going to get dragon sealed, which I don't know what it is. We're going to find out together. I'm excited, right? And the better you roll, the less damage you take, and the less likely, because with P less than 2, presence less than 2 means there's probably, especially if you're second level, there's going to be 1 or 2 characters where my presence is higher than that, and they're not affected. But this is a big beefy monster, so I don't know. This might be way too nasty for a first level party. You know, first level stats I think max out at 2, but there might be ways with like magic items or other things to get it above that. So we'll see. But that's not the point. If the encounter value is too high, then I will just kind of go and I'll pull it down a little bit, and I'll make a baby Thorn Dragon. I can do that. I'm a professional. Until the condition ends, a creature dragon sealed by the dragon has their wounds overtaken by nettles and thorns. Hey everybody. Until the condition ends, a creature dragon sealed by the dragon has their wounds overtaken by nettles and thorns, and they take an additional die of damage from conditions that deal. Ah, got it. Yeah, the dragon's worm scale order and the dragon's. Got it. Sweet. I like that he spells it out. Good job, whoever designed this. Good job, Willie, for assigning this. Good job, Willie, for assigning this to whoever did it. Or if you assigned it to you, good job, Willie. And good job, whoever you assigned it to, because this is super cool and I like it already. So I don't think this is generic Thorn Dragon. I don't think that's what we're dealing with here. I think we're dealing with a specific Thorn Dragon. And it might be, and so now we're going to switch back to this document. Hello. Hi. Hello, it's me. So, Pranicon, they are following a road. There's a road. There's a road to Broad. In fact, that might be the name of the adventure, the Road to Broad. That's kind of boring, isn't it, right? But they were obviously in battle. So here's what I think happened. The Shadow Elves have their own Thorn Dragon. Bazacarnifax. That's a rough draft of a dragon name. I'll polish it later. Bazacarnifax. Who's like, so this is a unique Thorn Dragon who is probably half shadow. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about that. They detected somehow. So whatever these shadow elves are up to, they grabbed the Carter because the Carter did not pose any threat. So are they trying to, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to sacrifice people to something? Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to worry about that later. This might be, I might not finish this. We've been streaming for 90 minutes and I'm starting to pit out. So meaning I need to take a pit stop. So we might not finish this stream. We might have to do it later. No, I don't think the Carter. Well, I don't know if the Carter was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but I think that the Shadow Elves saw that the Carter could be used to fuel their goals. Some ritual the Shadow Elves are performing. Classic fantasy nonsense. Classic fantasy adventure nonsense. But and they did not perceive the Carter as a threat, so the Carter are fodder. They're grist for the mill. But the Knight and the Men at Arms are a threat. So deal with the threat. Send the Thorn Dragon. So this would be a unique Thorn Dragon that I would monkey with, and I would keep some of that stuff. But ultimately, when these knights and men-at-arms failed their saving throws, they don't just die. They turn into these fey sculptures, right? And in fact, I think, based on the art, I think the thorns and bark might all be like black. Like they almost look like those kind of funguses and the roots, those black roots that the fungus can spit out. Anyway. So there's shadow in the grass. They find the remains of the Carter. They find the missing knight, and I think they might fight the Thorn Dragon. There must be something. There must be something the players know. There must be something the players know. Well, I could be wrong. It may be that... So there's two ways to do this, right? The first way is this is a unique Thorn Dragon who can do this to people. And if you... And in order to stop it, it's more like a Greek myth curse, where if you just know how the Thorn Dragon works, you can prepare yourself. There might be some ingredient or something you need, some knowledge, and you can make yourself immune to this fucking thing. Or it could just be this is what happens when a Thorn Dragon when this unique Thorn Dragon raised by the Shadow Elves kills somebody, right? When that happens, you turn into one of these. It's just a natural effect. It's a natural effect of actually dying to the Thorn Dragon's attacks. I'm not going to worry about that right now. That's a future map problem. So they fight the Thorn Dragon. I don't know if they fight them. I don't know when this happens. So I'm just going to ask myself, I'm going to do the Tolkien thing of just asking myself a question here, and then future Matt can answer it. I think, so when is the best time for the Thorn Dragon to appear and attack? My gut tells me it is in that moment when the players realize what they're looking at. Actually, no, the players are going to realize these are the knights. These are the men at arms. Where's the knight? What happened to them? Oh my God. They're in battle poses, and maybe there's some signs of violence around they can see. And as the players are putting this picture together of what happened here, there's going to be a moment where realization dawns. And in that moment, the Thorn Dragon attacks. Whenever the players basically figure out, I put it in quotes, meaning I don't know what this means exactly, but at some point the players are basically going to figure out what's the most dramatic moment. Well, I don't know when the most dramatic moment is now. I won't know when the most dramatic moment is until I'm running the game, until I'm there at the table. So I have the Thorn Dragon in my pocket, ready to unleash whenever there's this moment where the player's eyes go wide and they realize what the fuck they're looking at. And I can't make that happen. I just have to be kind of ready. And it may be there's some other dramatic moment where the Thorn... So in other words, over-planning, I think, is death. Over-planning turns into railroading and forcing players to behave a certain way in order to make certain things happen. I just want to be ready. I want to be... readiness is all. Readiness is all. I've got the Thorn Dragon in my pocket. I've created this crazy scenario, so I'm just going to play it out and see. Right? And it may be that the Thorn Dragon attacks some hours or days later. If that's what makes sense in the moment, then that's what happens. So now I need a third... What's up, Big Sarge? I need a third thing before they get to Broad. I'd also like to know what the Shadow Elves are up to. My gut tells me this might be related to dust. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it just rhymes with what's going on in dust. Actually, maybe this is what happens to the Dusk heroes next. Is they're in Bedegar, right? They made it at the end of Dusk, they make it out of the Woad. Maybe this is the next assignment. That would be useful. My gut tells me that the Shadow Elves are sort of trying to terraform Orden, right? They're trying to colonize it. And so what they're doing is there's some forest somewhere, a forest near Broad that's just a normal forest, and they're going to try to turn it not into a Woad. They're going to try to turn it into a Shadow Woad. They're going to try to turn it into a part of Equinox in the Prime Material Plane. So there's some tree, probably. Maybe tree's too obvious, but they're elves. Maybe it's a brook, maybe it's a stream, maybe it's a cairn. I don't know, but there's some natural phenomenon. Let's say it's a tree that's the epicenter of what's happening. And getting to that tree, and it's just outside of Broad, getting to that tree, the tree is a portal into Dusk. And so that's where the Carter's family are. That's maybe where the Knight is. That's maybe where the Coursers are. And their blood is going to be fed to the tree or something, right? And that's going to create the blood of living creatures from the Prime Manifold is going to mix with something in Orden. With something in Equinox. And that's going to turn this really small forest into a Shadow Woad. And I like the idea, by the way, that the players could fail and that this could happen. And the players could fail, but failure should not mean dying. Failure should mean failing to stop the ritual, failing to save the people. And now there's a bigger problem, right? Now there's a bigger problem. I think Broad is just the nearby town. I think it's just the nearby town. So the first people to get kidnapped are the people from Broad. And they might already be dead by the time we meet them. I don't know. So I feel like I have a basic structure. And I do feel like I am simultaneously relieved that I know that the Shadow Elves are the bad guys. But at the same time, I'm sort of disappointed because I was hoping to come up with something brand new. But this is cool enough. Yep, this is cool enough. What happens to the Coursers? The Coursers weren't 2, they were 3. An elf, a human, and their dog. Not their god. That would be a whole different problem. The players meet the dog. He escaped. Whatever fate befell the Coursers. Oh, you know what happens when they get to Broad? When you have an idea, by the way, write the idea down immediately. Write the idea down as soon as you have it. Which, by the way, classic Matt Colville writing. I feel so bad for any poor fools that have to be the first people to look at my raw manuscripts. James, Scott Gray, because there are always these just like hanging chads where sentences just stop in the middle because I had an idea and I had to get it down. When they get to Broad, the people are shadows and the shadows attack. Right? So now we've got another encounter. And we're going to need more. We're going to need more encounters. We've got another encounter, but this one's not just, this is with agents of the Shadow Elves, right? So that's useful to know. I'm just making that note for future. In fact, now I can delete this note. I can delete that note because I am now incorporating it into the manuscript. The dog escaped whatever fate befell the Coursers, but the dog is still a dog. Has his original personality, but has changed in a gross way. I don't know how. I don't know what exactly. I'm not going to worry about that right now. But this is Pathos, right? Is the dog in pain? Maybe. I don't want to go too far down that road because it's not that kind of. I don't have that kind of relationship with my players where I really, really want to make them feel bad. That's not, I don't have fun doing that. So I don't know what's wrong with the dog, but whatever is wrong with the dog, it can be fixed. It can be cured, right? Maybe the heroes can cure it trivially, but now they have access to the courser's dog, and the courser's dog can lead them to, you know, let me write this down before I forget. Can the heroes fix the dog? Probably. It ain't that kind of adventure, kid. And now the dog can help them. Maybe lead them. So lead them to where the coursers ate it. I don't know what happened to the coursers. I don't know when the first time the heroes are going to fight the shadow elves. There are shadow elves in the monsters book for draw steel, I think. So I have those ready. I can use those. That's great. I don't have to invent whole new monsters. I wouldn't have minded doing that. That would have been fun. I think probably stand by. I think probably when they find the remains of the coursers, whatever that means, shadows of the coursers, you know, I think the coursers might still be alive, so maybe they're shadows. Maybe their shadows are projected onto a tree. Stand by. I'm going to make a note here. Are there players whose characters or backgrounds might indicate that they have a prophetic dream or an oracular vision about these events? Because that is definitely a thing that can happen when you make a draw steel character. And I want to make sure that we get some good foreshadowing in, right? And that there are players who maybe have experiences or know things about what's coming, and they don't know how to interpret it. They don't know how to do it correctly.
Sounding very special.
Like if there's a void mage in the party, maybe they can hear the shadows. I'm talking about some high, let's put some high weirdness in here. The game is not about rolling dice and fighting monsters alone. I want to kind of unnerve the players a little bit and giving one player specifically some unique interaction with a character in a dream, or these shadows that only they can hear. Or maybe they see the shadows, and that night when they camp, they meet in their dreams. They meet these coursers who need help. I don't know, but I like that the filigree, all the stuff around the edges that makes an adventure memorable, but that does not necessarily advance the plot. These things are important. Can the heroes fix the dog? Probably. The dog leads them somewhere. They find evidence of the coursers. And the shadow elves attack. Right? So this is the third encounter, so it's time to reveal the villains. Perfectly legitimate time to do that, I think. You don't necessarily want mysteries to go on too long because the players will get fatigued, right? So you want to, at this point, the players are ready to meet the bad guys. And that means, I like that because that means by the time they get to Broad, they know what they're in for, right? All right, I think we're going to stop here for now. Not because we're done, but just because we've been streaming for an hour and a half, 90 minutes, and I'm starting to get a little bit of meeting fatigue. I don't know when we'll pick this up next. Maybe we're on YouTube, so maybe we'll pick this up, this weekend. It's Thursday, right? It's game night tonight. I might stream on Twitch after this, not related to this. It's game night tonight, theoretically. Tomorrow is a synth meetup day. Me and a friend of mine bring our synths together and play music together and fight with our modules. And then there's Saturday and Sunday, and then next week is back to work. So Saturday and Sunday, I don't have any plans. So we might stream here Saturday or Sunday and pick this up and see where we go. And either get to the end of the brainstorming session or actually start building out encounters and stuff like that. And because here's the nice thing about this, and I may have said this earlier in the stream. If not, I'm glad I remembered it. I don't need to finish this the way you have to finish an actual product, right? This doesn't need to have complete sentences and paragraphs and all that stuff. These are just my notes that I need to run it. So the difference between the brainstorming notes and the actual thing I use at the table might not be that different. Now, it may be that if this goes well and I have a good time and my players have fun and we record this in something, it may be that we then decide to take Matt's adventure that he kind of kit bashed together and we turn it into a real draw steel product. I think this is a hell of a hook for a first adventure. I think this would make a great starting adventure for draw steel. Absolutely. I think there are a lot of different starting adventures that we could have for draw steel, and you could pick one that you like. The Delian Tomb could be one of them, but I don't necessarily think there needs to be only one correct place to start. But I think this absolutely could be like a good getting to know the system, slowly introducing the players to their powers and abilities and what they can do. It's not a dungeon crawl yet. So yeah, I think this is cool. And here's the most important thing. There may be people watching this video live right now in chat. My eye is twitching. There may be people watching the VOD who are not vibing with this. That does not matter. What matters is that I'm excited to run it. Right now, I'm the only person in the world that is on the hook to run this, right? And by the I'm not even on the hook to do that. I haven't told anybody we're going to do this. And I'm not going to until I feel like I'm ready. But I would like to run this for my friends starting, January, the week of the 13th. I'd like to have this ready. When I actually run it, I don't know. But I'm the one that has to be excited for it. At the end of the day, when you're building adventures for your friends to run, it does not matter whether this would make a good or bad product. It does not matter whether other people who are not you or your friends are excited by this. The only thing that matters is, are you motivated to run it? And if you're not, then you need to start deleting stuff and adding things that you're excited by. That's the reason Dusk happened in the first place, is because I wanted to show off 4th edition for my friends. And I just wasn't motivated to run in my world. I'd been running in Vasaloria for a long time. And I was like, I'm just kind of bored with Ajax and all this other stuff. So that means I need something new. I need to invent something new. So I invented an entirely new world. Equinox, also known as Dusk. The realm of the Shadow Elves, the Twilight and the Twilight Celestials, who I think are two different things. I think the Twilight Celestials are the demigods, and the Shadow Elves are their servitors. The could possibly be a PC ancestry folk. Yeah. So this is the same thing, right? Is I want to run a session. What am I motivated by? What excites me? This stuff excites me. It's not based on anything. I haven't stolen anything from anything. I just was brainstorming ideas on the way here, and I had a short list, and I wrote them down when we got here, and I feel like we've learned a lot. This is the beginnings of the good bones. This is Act 1 and a good chunk of Act 2, but we're not yet at Act 3. I think Act 2 probably ends when they get to Broad, and Act 3 is going into Equinox and going into another world to try to rescue. So this has all the hallmarks, I think, of a good draw steel, a good Vasaloria adventure. It is very medieval, right? It's carters and barons and forests and roads and trees and shadows in the grass. It's very medieval until you get to the end. And then we go into another world, right? We go into Equinox, which is a totally legitimate thing to do. We're first level. We're already heroes, right? We're already heroes. We're not just farmers who put down the plow yesterday and picked up the sword this morning. We know what we're doing. There could be characters, and you can make a first level character that already knows all about the timescape, which 99.999% of people in Orden know nothing about. But you're the exception. You're that 0.001%. So anyway, thanks for hanging out, folks. I hope that this was either fun and or entertaining, or you got something useful out of it and you're like, oh yeah, that's Yeah, I could make. Is that how you make an adventure? That's easy. I could do that. I realize that for many people, this is not your first rodeo, but there are always, every time I stream, every time I make a video, there are always new people where that's their first video, that's their first stream. Best thing you've seen this year. I made a great joke on Blueski yesterday. I stole it from Tom Schmuck. I haven't taken a shit all year. Jay Taylor just getting back into the mood for playing and running. Yeah, I actually think one of the things that's fun about sessions like this, about streams like this one that we're in the middle of right now, or at the end of, is that I think it can be a great way to motivate people to get excited to get behind the screen. Is because either you hear me blathering and you're like, well, that's ridiculous. I've already had 10 way better ideas than those. Write them down, right? Or you watch it and you're like, that's a good idea. Steal it, right? One way or the other, you get inspired. And it might be, I think this is a little bit tame for this to be the next Book of Dusk, the beginning of the next Book of Dusk, but I could be wrong. But this is definitely something I could see myself running for my friends and maybe run online for people like Mark Holmes and stuff like that. So no spoilers, everybody. All right, I don't know what's going to happen next. I may get lunch. I may stream on Twitch soon after this. Might jump in, play some Star Citizen. What's up, Matty Apiola? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the end of the show. And I don't know when we'll see each other next. Maybe tomorrow night, maybe over the weekend. You come by the www.twitch.tv/Matthew_Colville is the Twitch channel. I stream all the time. I like streaming on Twitch because no one knows I'm there, and I get really small audiences, and the small audiences do not freak me out, and the VODs get automatically deleted, and it's awesome. It's perfect for me. This is better for stuff like this because I want people to see this. So yeah, until next time, folks. Be seeing you.